Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, it's a behemoth of a racetrack, and we are bringing you season number 3 and the third encounter for these drivers. Here tonight, it's race number 8 of the regular season, live from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. It's the Vsrl ARCA Series, presented live here on VSpeed. Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Bradley Cooper, alongside in the booth, Jeremy Burns, co-commentary up here tonight. And Jeremy, we've seen these drivers briefly. You came in for a race, and Morgan Cook, our usual producer, is out with a little bit of a raspy voice and not feeling too well. But you two brought coverage of this race. You've seen some of these drivers already at Daytona, so you're kind of familiar with how these guys did at Super Speedway action before. What's your take on tonight?
Yeah, the strategy is going to be off the walls tonight. There's going to be a lot of stuff that goes into it. Saving under green, knowing when to take tires, when to just take fuel. And who can't forget the high action racing that we'll see here on the banks of Talladega. I'm super excited for it, and I can't wait to see his green flag drop.
Schedule up on your screen. It was Martinsville just last week for 140 laps. Here tonight, Talladega for 66 of them. And then another pretty big racetrack over 2 miles, just over 2 miles there at Michigan International. And we'll see that in just a week's time. A look at the points here with the top 10. Sean Langton locked in. Richard Holland, Nicholas Pressey, and Justin Ritchie all have a win this season. Dakota Floyd has pointed his way in, pretty much guaranteed a spot, but it's John Sanu, 17 plus on the bubble. Garrett Helmlinger, Kyle Stewart, Benjamin Richards just below that cut line, and Teresa Spiker in 10th. And there's a look at Talladega Super Speedway, opened September 13th, 1969. 33 degrees of banking, and I know it's a special art to get around this place. It's not like other racetracks where you have to lift off the throttle. It's a lot of wide open racing and relying on the car in front of you to stay in front of this pack. Race analysis up on your screen is 60 mile per hour pit road speed limit. Like I said, 66 laps. Tire sets available here tonight, 2, and that will be kind of at a premium. I think for the most part with 75% fuel, we can make this race in one stop. It's going to be close, but if they do come down pit road, expect to see with this Generation 4 style car and the ARCA horsepower, most drivers will probably elect not to take those tires. They do have to be careful though. Bump drafting here in this car, very, very difficult. We're already seeing it in practice here, Jeremy. Cars getting into contact just for a brief second, sending them around down the backstretch.
Yeah, you have to be very careful how you push these cars. They're very sensitive. You have to make sure that you're squared up when you get behind a car, because if you get them just a little bit off-centered, you could be sending them into the wall or your competitors, and Lord only knows that that's not what you want here tonight.
With that, we are hitting the grid, so let's take you trackside. Get that information up on your screen. Starting on the pole here tonight, The Vsrl pole award goes to Nicholas Pressey. Number 94 put up a good enough lap time to start up front. Very, very difficult to do so. But there he is. He'll start alongside Richard Holland. Both those drivers within 100th of a second of each other for row number 1. Row number 2 goes to Sean Langton. Kyle Stewart will start in the 4th position. And then Wade Palmer and John Sanu for row number 3. David Collins starts in 7th, Dakota Floyd in 8th, and rounding out your top 10 is Thad Miller in the 13, Garrett Helmlinger starting in 10th.
Starting 11th, we're going to have Justin Ritchie, and starting outside of him, we're going to have Teresa Spiker. Starting in the 13th position, we're going to have Benjamin Richards, and starting in 14th, Greg Pillar. Starting in 15th, we're going to have Casey Ellis. Outside of them, we're going to have Greg Spiker in the number 10. Brent McKee is going to roll off here in P17, followed up with Renee Hasp in 18th. And rounding out your field, you're going to have Edward Fiedler in the 66 and Shane Gunter in the 22, rounding out and starting in P20.
So for Richard Holland, locking himself in, a few of these other drivers, such as Dakota Floyd, has pointed his way in. This is kind of a relaxed day. This isn't one of those usual Talladega races where you're dreading coming here because you know that the outcome of this race, it's very easy to get caught up in trouble. And so we've seen that in the past where drivers, trying to throw a Hail Mary and win their way into the final elimination. But here for those 4 or 5 drivers, they can come in here a little bit more relaxed. And sometimes when you have a point system like that, it makes these races a little bit more bearable.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Being in a couple championships myself, I do understand that feeling. And tonight for those drivers, you're specifically going to be looking to help your teammates and getting behind them and helping push them to the win. But you always have to be very protective of that because when it comes to the final lap, you can't always assume that your teammate's going to help you. They might duck out of line and try taking it for themselves. So it should be a lot of fun here. They're rolling through 3 and 4 right now, coming to green. So really excited to get this thing underway. 66 laps to determine the winner. And it's going to be a lot of high, intense racing here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You'd see a minimal of 20 lead changes before this thing is all said and done. Look for that top line to start to develop as this race progresses. Plenty wide enough for 3 wide here in Lincoln, Alabama. But here we go. Race number 8 from Talladega Super Speedway. The Vsrl ARCA Series is live and racing. And coming by to lead lap number 1, it looks like Nicholas Pressey has plenty of help here. He has the 7 of Sean Langton giving him a shove. Richard Holland had no help there on the outside. It wasn't until John Sanu picked him up. He fell back to 3rd.
Yeah, that inside lane has definitely been more developed here. As you start to see the outside starting to develop here, that 24 of Dakota Floyd's got to get to the back bumper there of John Sanu to push that outside lane up farther. But so far, that inside is looking very developed and looking to be out front here very early on.
On board with the 86 as he pushes back in the 31. Trying to work their way closer to the front. They are back door to door with Pressey. Have to be very late on the touch here to get in to the back bumper of that 31 too soon. Pressey's going to come by door to door. It looks like Holland's going to lead that lap. already. 2 lead changes just out of the gate here. Kind of labeled as 1, but they went back and forth a couple different times. No guarantees here. You're going to rely on the guy behind you to keep you up front. Lower horsepower on this car does help prevent overheating. It's not as bad as the Gen 4. But that Gen 4 model, the higher horsepower, higher RPMs, tends to overheat within, a lap and a half here at Talladega. This car can push for 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, and I tell you, Bradley, another thing that comes from these low horsepower cars are the runs that you can get. It's very aerodynamic sensitive here at Talladega in these cars. So the side draft is going to be in the playbook for all of these drivers tonight. And for somebody like Richard Holland there on the outside, you're going to have to use that side draft. As you see Nicholas Pressey ducking out of line there, he says it's too early to be fighting, and he's going to drop back to the back here.
Going to create a 3 wide. You have to be careful with that apron. That's a hard transition. There he is up on the track now, but he might lose the tail end of the draft here. He will. So it might have been too early to be up front, but it was way too early to lose control and lose this pack. This race stays green. Pressey probably not going to see the lead again.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake there out of Pressey. Just was not slow enough really to get to the end of the pack before the turn there, and was a little loose there on the apron and lost enough speed to where he couldn't gain back to get back in that draft. So it's going to be a long day for him if it stays green here. But as we look out back towards the pack, they're still fighting side by side here.
Kyle Stewart on the outside. He'll be the next car to try to eat this pack up. Started in 4th. He's been quietly running thus far, but as soon as Pressey dropped down, Richard Holland came to the bottom with the 86 of Sanu, and now it might be an opportunity for Kyle Stewart to go up and snag the lead. Sean Lincoln giving him a shot, and there's the 43 of Wade Palmer just behind him. Going with Wade Palmer. Started in the top 5. It's Benjamin Richards to the inside of the 43 down the back stretch. Outside line developed pretty quickly, as opposed to the start of this race where it took 2 or 3 laps for these guys to get it going. It looked like Langton and Stewart were able to find each other pretty quickly, and that's probably the benefit of being teammates and being able to communicate with each other.
Yeah, being teammates definitely is a positive here on the restrictor plates. I know that when I talk to my teammates in my leagues, it's definitely very difficult when you're all spread out, but when you're together, there's nothing like it. And having a little bit of comfort there on the back bumper always is nice to have on these restrictor plates.
In the mid-pack, we have Casey Ellis, who started in 15th, has gained 6 spots. Biggest mover of the race thus far. Just beside him, Rick McKee, who's up 5 positions from 17th. These cars on the move. See the 13 of Thad Miller in the middle of that as well. It's like a new sponsor on Thad Miller's machine. You get to zoom in on that. Quite sure what that's for, but it does look like a hermit crab on the hood. Richard Holland comes by to lead another time by. That'll put him as the most laps led now, past Nicholas Pressey. Kyle Stewart trying to take away that lead, though. They have not prevailed yet. Third line develops. There's Dakota Floyd. Maybe he got bumped out of line. They're going to go up and block that run. Leaves Wade Palmer out to dry.
Now the 43 looking for an opportunity to get in either one of these lines. If he gets stuck here in the middle, it's going to be hard for him. Oh, we got the wreck of the pack.
Dakota Floyd, caution is out. Shane Gunter goes sideways through the tri-oval. Dakota Floyd picks up damage from it as well. For a millisecond, I thought another car was going to hit him, but the iRacing pace truck was coming out on the racetrack. Watch through the tri-oval. What happened here, Burns?
Yeah, it looks like the 24 in that outside lane get into the wall, and the 55 tries avoiding it, comes down right in the middle. 22 is nowhere to go and collects the back into that field there, and a lot of damage here early on for a lot of these cars.
It looked like the 7 of Langton went up into the wall first, and Floyd followed him up there. Both those cars not able to pull it off the wall, and kind of a rule of thumb that once you get stuck in that wall, you stay there. But for the 55, he wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to follow him. Unfortunately, Shane Gunter was down low, and that brings out our first yellow of the night.
Yeah, and looking back here at the number 13 of Thad Miller, he almost had it cleared. And on board of that would look really nice. He's just driving all the way through, misses the 55 and gets tagged there by the number 7, and ends up in the outside wall. So early damage for Thad Miller. Hopefully he can get it all repaired and back out on the track here.
He's on board with the 13. Just got the very end of it there by Langton. So drivers coming in to repair these cars. Looks like topping off with fuel again for most of the field as well. John Sanu, David Collins, everyone coming into pit. Richard Holland, who led them into pit road the first time around. Craig Pillar stays out. Be a little bit different strategy here for the 32. But a lap led, nonetheless, by the nimble.net machine. Well, don't go anywhere. It does take an eternity to pace around this place, but we're going to take a quick commercial break here on V-Speed. Watching the Vsrl ARCA Series. Live from Talladega. More coverage continues right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back here live at Talladega Super Speedway in the Vsrl ARCA Series. Cooper, Jeremy Burns up in the broadcast booth. One caution so far. Like the 7 of Sean Langton and the 24 of Dakota Floyd get pinned up in the outside wall through the tri-oval. Unfortunately, the 55 didn't follow him up there. Ends up moving out of line, getting into Shane Gunter. We have about 5 cars involved in our first accident. 4 lead changes, 12 laps. About to go back green here on lap 13 as the pace lights are out. They're set to go back underway. It's Greg Pillar and Greg Spiker on the front row. Richard Holland, Wade Palmer, second row behind, and then actually John Sanu. Sorry about that. John Sanu on the outside there. Wade Palmer, David Collins, row number 3. So Jeremy, an early caution sometimes can spell trouble at races like this. You've seen where the intensity and the anxiety of Talladega can kind of overwhelm drivers, and they'll make mistakes or make calls that they wouldn't normally make at another racetrack.
Yeah, I will say caution like this, at least in my eyes, is something that can actually calm me down. The beginning of these races can bring a lot of anxiety to you, but again, as long as you miss the wreck, right? You look at it and you're like, oh, I feel good now. I can slow down and get back into it as they head back into the restart zone here. We're going to go back green. Huge start there for Greg Pillar. He's going to get at least a car length there on Greg Spiker. Hey, Greg Spiker, oh, he's going to clear himself. He's going to head towards the inside wall, makes contact. That is not the type of restart you want there as we stay green.
Go back on the replay and take a look at that. And it looked like Spiker wasn't clear, came down in front of the 31. And now they're scattering everywhere down the backstretch.
If you thought a line could be more disorganized after that, this outside line only has 3 cars within the first 5 of the inside line, as Dakota Floyd's going to have a lot of work here to catch back up there to the 88 of Garrett Helmlinger. He's getting back to the back bumper here of the Ghost Energy of, I believe that is Casey Ellis.
It would be Casey Ellis. The 10 was not clear, came right down in front of the 31 of Richard Holland. Backed it up one more time here. You could see from Richard Holland's point of view, 10 car just not clear, came down across his nose.
Unfortunately, these cars don't have turn signals, but at that point, I'm sure that spotter was saying inside.
Back to the live shot here. Greg Pillar still in the lead. Even after all of that chaos behind him, somebody decided to still push the 32. It would have been very easy for him to lose that inside, and Wade Palmer, had they not checked up there, probably could have gotten the lead. John Sanu pushes on the inside. 35, Casey Ellis on the high line pushing Wade Palmer. On board with Dakota Floyd. And Floyd, who followed the 7 of Langton up into the wall earlier, might have been the best case scenario for that to happen, though. He didn't really get any damage, pretty minimal damage, even after bouncing that wall, having the 22 bounce off of him. Looks like his car's still up to speed. And I know they do have a fast repair here tonight. Few venues that they will come out with a fast repair, super speedway style racing. You almost have to have it.
Yeah, I will say a lot of the wrecks here can cause terminal damage, so having a fast repair is always nice. And for Dakota Floyd, at least, when things decided to go wrong, they didn't go that far wrong. So he's still in this thing. It's still really early on. And I guess we didn't really talk about it enough, but Pressey actually was out of that wreck since he was out of that lead draft early on. So he actually caught a massive break there. And he's back in this fight, and he's right here in the middle of the pack on this inside lane. And he's right back in the fight to, contend for a win here tonight.
And lucky for him, he had fallen off the draft and lost the pack by about 14 seconds before that caution came out. Out of the inside for the top 10. Just in the 11th spot, they're fanning out 3 wide. It looks like Wade Palmer left out to dry again. Where have we seen this before? This was just before the caution the last time.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess.
Oh, there it is again.
Dakota Floyd.
They're still wrecking down here. Benjamin Richards gets a piece of it. No caution. We stay green somehow. But this pack is falling apart.
Yeah, only it looks to be 6 cars, maybe 7 tailing on to the end of this lead draft, including Pressey. He doesn't want to lose this lead draft for a second time, but many others have already. As you see the Red Bull car back there trying to hold on for dear life. That's Brent McKee. Yeah, definitely a very unfortunate break there for many drivers. As you see, it looked like Helmlinger got a little off-center push there. And a lot of other drivers, including the 07 there, sliding to the inside. Doesn't look like much damage except there on the right front, but speed-wise, he's going to be off pace here. Luckily enough, he's found a partner back there to not lose as much speed. As you see there in the number 70.
Teresa Spiker and the number 70 giving him a push. That upset the whole field. I mean, for Dakota Floyd, he's lost the pack. He's about 19 seconds back from the leaders and 4 seconds back from the nearest car, which is the 70. And you got Benjamin Richards with damage. I believe that's the 10 of Greg Spiker, who is 3 laps down with damage. There's about 8 cars here. And thankfully for Nick Pressey, he didn't get caught up in that one either. It's usually wise to tick laps away here at this place. Try to run as calmly as you can. Don't push the issue too much. But it seems like for Floyd, he got into the back of that car, sent him to the outside wall, and I think whenever we see the 43 get stuck in the middle, that's where we're going to see a caution.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of the pack, but if I see these 2 wrecks and the common denominator was the 43 in the middle, I don't think I'd take them 3 wide again, honestly. As you see, here comes a slow car on the outside. It's going to be the 55 of Justin Ritchie. He's going to have a hard time staying on to this tail end of the pack here.
That's heavy damage.
Yeah. That right front's not looking too sharp.
Heavy damage on the 55 will lose this pack, go a lap down. Justin Ritchie, the first car, a lap down. If we get a caution, we get the free pass. Down the backstretch, John Sanu helping the 32 of Greg Pillar lead some laps. But as I said before, we only have 7 cars in this front pack of Casey Ellis moving to the outside there, trying to breed this thing. You have to be careful doing that as well. You can lose a lot of momentum and lose the tail end of the draft that way as well.
Yeah, and I will say, when you have a pack like this, you're going to have these cars that are basing it off a strategy now, because now you only have so many cars in contention. So if you can have a strategy that separates yourself from that small group of cars, and you have a team that goes with you, you're going to have a very good chance if this thing goes green to have a shot at the win.
How the strategy is pit with these drivers, though, I think coming down pit road is, you see the 7 cars, you almost all have to pit together. If John Sanu or Greg Pillar call it out on the racetrack, I'm going to follow them in, because the chances that you could accidentally pit alone if you stay out are pretty high.
Yeah, all it takes is one lap for you to run by yourself to lose that lead draft, the lead pack. And you also have to be very careful getting on the pit road, right? You see a lot of drivers take the strategy of offsetting your car. So if you're closer on pit road, you're going to be more to the left when you enter. But if you're farther down pit road because you qualified towards the front, you're going to want to stay to the right to allow those drivers to get over to their box that have the sooner box.
Langton has caught the tail end of it. He was the next car to go a lap down. He's trying to use Ellis to go get that lap back here on the outside. Casey Ellis making up a lot of ground here out of 3 and 4. It's to the outside of Nicholas Cressy, but it's going to be difficult to take 2 cars past 7. You're on the charge here, Burns. I'm really impressed with what that 7 has done.
Yeah.
Up to 4th.
I tell you what, that 7 right now has nothing to lose and all to gain. If he doesn't get back on the lead lap now, his race could very well be over. As you see a huge shot down the back here. They're even with the leaders as they go down the backstretch and enter 3. Now you're going to see a huge surge here on the inside because they have that shorter distance around the track, but the 7 pokes his nose out to develop that run as they come off of turn 4. Can they get back even with those leaders coming down the front stretch?
It'll be difficult to do. Casey Ellis might want to pull in a little bit closer and get some side force off of those cars. They'll do it, but it's a little bit too late. The fall back to 3rd. Here's another surge into 1. Gonna try to pinch down a little bit here. Maybe ride that white line. One more try on the backstretch, but I would say the 7 of Langton probably getting a little toasty at this point.
Yeah, I just think that they're going to need more than 2 cars to go with them to make that pass work. It's so difficult for 2 cars to go against 6, like you said. And now, as you can see, they've fallen all the way back past the 3rd car. So I think that they're just going to try to file back in line here. Like you said, the 7's probably getting a little toasty up there, probably seeing a little water shoot out. And that means it's time to cool it off and head back to the back of the pack.
Race a little bit more than that. We see a 7-car breakaway, a lap car of Sean Langton trying to push Casey Ellis up to the front. And we check back further in this field. Brent McGee, who's all by himself, or was by himself a moment ago. Kyle Stewart has caught up to him. This group of about 5 cars trying to get reorganized. Edward Fiedler, just on the back end of this, has, I believe that is the 88 machine. Garrett Helmlinger, who was a lap down at the tail end of this pack. They're trying to organize, but they're 13 seconds out from this front group.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to catch back up. Nearly impossible, but the one thing that this does help with is fuel strategy. When you're in a draft like this, you don't have to use as much fuel. So when you have a group like this, you can kind of trade who's that lead car so that y'all are on the same fuel strategy. And like we said before, pitting in a group is a lot easier when you're in a pack like this, and will make it very, very much easier when you come out of pit road to have a group and trying to maintain that gap. I don't know if you're gonna be able to catch it as we ride on board here, pushing that 29 car. That's the 41 of Kyle Stewart in that beautiful Home Depot ski. And as we see another straggler out there, it's going to be very interesting to see how that kind of works out. Will that straggler kind of stick to the outside and let him pass? And it looks like that's what he's going to do. But if you block this pack, it'll lose all their momentum. Whereas if you just go around and tuck in the back, you can keep the speed up and the momentum up.
24 Dakota Floyd, who is lap down still, but just so much damage on this machine, he can't actually catch that pack. You know, right now it's kind of weathering the storm. You want to run out there as long as you can, but eventually it's one of those situations where if the lead pack catches you, you go 2 laps down, you might as well bring it in.
Yeah, and I will say back in this lead pack, they just put 2 more cars, I believe, a lap down. I didn't catch the numbers exactly, but this pack is definitely the fastest one that they got out there. You got the leaders in there for a reason, but just more cars going a lap down, and hopefully they can add on to this pack and the lap cars can actually work together to stay ahead of these leaders. But this was a similar dynamic that we saw at Daytona where people were going a lap down and trying to add on to the tail end of the lead lap and even just being 1 lap down. And they were actually helping the leaders save fuel, believe it or not. So it'll be interesting to see how this dynamic changes throughout the race and how these lead cars use lap cars that may come up on them. But we're still not even halfway done yet, so when you get down to it, it'll be interesting, and we still got a long race to go here.
Casey Ellis took the lead there briefly at the entry of turn 3, but as we saw before, it's just difficult to complete that pass. Langton not able to get the 35 all the way clear. And I don't think Ellis would drop down in front of these guys and leave the 7 out to dry like that either way, even if he does clear Greg Pillar. I think Langton has just said, hey, I'll stick with you for the entirety of this run just to make sure that I stay on that free pass position or possibly get my lap back.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's the little engine that could back there. They are fighting their hardest to get back to the front of this pack, and I tell you what, if that car ducked down and you were just left hung out to dry as the 7, I would have some very choice words for the driver there of the, let's see here, what's that number? It's like the 35, sorry.
Casey Ellis there, the 35, and probably going to have to let these guys know as they're catching this back tandem of cars with Teresa Spiker, the 07, Renee Hasp. They've caught this group now. Benjamin Richards there as well. All are at threat of going a lap down here. Spiker out in front of this pack, though. Greg has damage in the 56 of Richards, also with damage. They're just not going to be able to keep up here. Teresa Spiker should probably be leading this pack of cars. It would probably go a lot faster.
We'll see here. It looks like they're all going to try to fall down. Actually, Sanu is going to bail on them. And that's going to help the 35 there of Ellis, as they're going to have a run here on the outside, put the 86 of Sanu to the point, and he's actually going to be clear there the inside if he wants it, but it doesn't look like he's going to take advantage of it. 35 is right on the rear bumper. Now the 86 is going to duck down and leave Ellis out there leading that outside. And look at Pressey. He's back. He's back like he's never left. Sitting there in the 3rd position. He's lost the lead pack once, almost lost it a 2nd time, and now he's sitting in 3rd. So a very eventful first half of the race here for the 94 of Nicholas Pressey.
Richard Holland back up there to the top 3 positions as well. Langton in the wall. Ran out of racetrack. Wade Palmer came up into almost into the door of the 7. So that's even more damage there as you see the 35. Looks like we're starting green flag pit stops. Greg Pillar follows him in.
You only saw 2 go in there that time around, so that's going to be very difficult to maintain speed when they exit. You're normally aiming for about 4 or 5 cars to come with you when you pit under green, so we'll have to see when the rest of the leaders pit and see where those 2 cycle back out in comparison.
On board with Richard Holland now, has worked his way up to the 2nd position. Has Wade Palmer just behind him. They have single filed out. look to see these drivers possibly come down pit road. They can pretty much guarantee that they can make it to the end of this thing if they go a couple more laps. But I think with 75% fuel, if you haven't been leading every single lap, you're pretty much good for one stop either way.
As you see the 7 still ducking out of line there. He's still trying to get his lap back. He's fought so hard throughout the early stages of this race, and now it's just him out there right now. And he said, I'll take these leaders head on of the 7 of Sean Langton. And it's actually working pretty well for him. He's even with that second car on the inside there, the 31 of Richard Holland. And he's actually going to get some help here, and he might even get some help from a lap car up here. And I believe those are the leaders that originally pit. Now going a lap down.
If you're the 7, you want to keep that 56 behind you, though, to try and keep all of those cars on that outside. There's Teresa Spiker going to go to the inside now. She's looking to get the free pass position. The car's up on the high line. Got some Richie Dakota Floyd. The heavily damaged cars will fall back here. That's the halfway point here from Talladega. John Sanu, your leader, still yet to come down pit road. We have about 10 cars that haven't hit the pitch just yet. Just a little over that mark. We've had Greg Pillar. Looks like Shane Gunter came down when they passed 35 of Casey Ellis, who did not come out of pit road with Greg Pillar when they exited pits. It looks like Greg Pillar made a mistake on pit road, got a 30-second pole. And that's a shame for Casey Ellis. He didn't have a partner exiting out for his green flag pit stop. Langton's back on the lead lap here. The outside prevailed there for a second. If half this field a lap down right now, Jeremy.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like I'm watching one of the IMSA races, the endurance racing, because you have two different battles going on here. You have the battle for the lead, and you have the battle for the lead lap and the free pass if a caution were to come out, all in the same pack. So it's very interesting to see how the lap cars are battling the leaders, because at the end of the day, if a caution comes out now and you're just behind these leaders, only one of you will get to come back on the lead lap. So these lap cars need to work together and push past these leaders so that they can all be back in the fight here. As you see another off-pace car, they're going to have to split that one 3 wide as they come through here.
Is the 22 of Shane Gunter there that they just motored past. Gunter all by himself as well. 32 of Greg Pillar. Remember, Pillar had that 38-second in the box. Actually, it was 11 seconds in the box, but 38 down pit road. He's just got the tail end of Casey Ellis. Thankfully for him, he was able to catch back up.
Yeah, now this is actually going to help their delta. Remember that only 2 of them pitted on that one lap. So now that they're actually able to get back to this lead pack and work together and stay in this draft, that'll probably help their delta time when these leaders do decide to pit. But yeah, again, it's going to be very difficult for them to cycle back out to the lead. I can only imagine that getting a pit stop here is going to be about 3/4 of a lap, if not close to a full lap. So it'll be really tight, but I think that the leaders that are in the pack now, as long as they have a clean stop, will get back in front of the 2 that came down earlier of Ellis and Pillar.
John Sanu continues to lead 40 laps in here from Talladega. About 27 laps to go, 26 and a half as they come down the back stretch. 7 cars in this pack on the lead lap. 5 of them are not. The pack continues to grow, and this is approaching that window of where you'll probably see these lead lap cars come into the pits. I'm really surprised how far they pushed it. I know they came in and topped off with fuel, but can they make it to the end here, Jeremy?
I don't think that they can make it to the end. I think that right now what you're seeing is they're single filing out because they're getting prepared for pit stops. That's a common thing that you see not only in the sim but in real life. You'll actually see hands go out the window signaling that they're going to pit. Unfortunately, you can't do that in the sim. But it looks like a lot of these leaders are trying to duck down to the inside. You see another one there ducking to the inside. So I would expect to see them coming here either this time by or next time by. But it looks like everybody has gotten down to the bottom and needs to make a stop.
This is out of turn 4. This would be the entry to pit road. We'll ride on board with Johnson New. There's the dive to the inside, and Richard Holland takes it out to the outside. Little lock up of the brakes. Palmer has Spiker into the back end and lifts the car off the ground on the entrance of pit road.
I'll tell you what, that 43 just must be bad luck. As we ride on board here, I guess that they wanted a nice look there of the underbody of the 43. Teresa Spiker wasn't anticipating him to be that hard on the brakes there. As you see, she's just way more aggressive getting into pit road. Just lifting the rear end of that 43 car off the ground. It looks like both of them actually ended up getting on a pit road just fine. We'll have to see if Teresa has a speeding penalty. She's definitely got to have damage of some sort, but overall, for it going bad, it could have been a lot worse.
Nicholas Pressey, Brent McKee, Kyle Stewart all stayed out here. And in that second group of cars that was losing ground. And this will give Casey Ellis the opportunity. Free pass position. See the 36 there. First car a lap down. Just ahead of Greg Pillar. How did it all cycle out? Richard Holland, Johnson New. They come back out in the 7th position, about 43 seconds behind this tandem of cars. I believe that's David Collins that's coming into pit now. Collins still on the lead lap, but unfortunately pitting by himself here.
Yeah, that's going to be very difficult getting off a pit road and maintaining that pace. We saw where 2 cars wasn't optimal, so 1 car is even going to be even worse. There's another one rolled off a pit road. There's a blue car. Couldn't see who it was, and looks like there's another one here in the middle of 1 and 2. But overall, I mean, Pressey looking pretty good out here as we look at the 07. Now the 55 coming in at pit road, very aggressive. He's got to get that thing woed down as he comes in with the 24 there of Floyd. Looks like they both made it on the pit road just fine. Here comes the blend. We got guys that are slower versus the leaders. And just managing those cars is going to be a huge, tall task. As Pressey's going to come in and pit here. And it looks like he's going to have one that's coming with him.
That's way too hot for Pressey.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a hold. NASCAR's not going to like that one.
94, about 12 miles per hour over the line there. Had to lock it up, but I don't think he did it soon enough, and locks it up again here into the entry of the box, so that's even more time lost.
Yeah, it looks like he's still trying to position himself. That's just a catastrophic failure for him here at this point in the race, because I think that's going to be the money stop. And if that's the money stop, then I think that we're throwing change at this point. But as we look back up here towards the front, it looks like Holland and Sanu still just being in that tandem. Going to be about 10 seconds out in front of the other drivers.
Pressey didn't get a hold.
That is very surprising. And it looks like we're blocking each other coming off a pit road.
Pressey was trying to get around the tennis Spiker, who was a little slow coming out of the exit of pits. And now it's a 3-car breakaway from this group. as they continue to put time on Nicholas Pressey. He has no help, no partner. It's not until Kyle Stewart, who is about 7 seconds back from him, where he'll be able to gain any help. And for Stewart, they've only got 20 to go here.
Yeah, right now, if you are Holland and Sanu, you're kind of in the driver's seat, because not only do you have you two, but you also have the two, or at least you have the 7. It looked like you had another car tailing off back there. But right now you have 3 compared to 5, and you have, what, a 11-second gap back to the next pack. So you have 11 seconds to give here over the next 20 laps. So they're going to be monitoring that and seeing if they can hold off that bigger pack coming, being led by Stewart there in the 41.
Looking here at Sean Langton, who is the pre-pass position, but the way this field is spread out right now, Jeremy, I think the likelihood of a caution to get these guys any kind of wave arounds is starting to dwindle away. 20 laps to go. You're seeing groups, but they're so far apart. Here's Pressey just now getting help from Spiker. There's Collins just behind that. The time has ran out. Here comes Kyle Stewart, Thad Miller. I don't think they're going to catch this lead group. That's impressive what Richard Holland, Sean Langton, and John Sanu have been doing here, as Holland will come by the 86 to lead some laps.
Yeah, when it comes to these super speedway races, there are so many aspects that come into it, and one of them is the pit stop and the pit cycle. I know that a lot of these drivers practiced within the practice session that they had of getting on the pit road, but I have to give it to the 31 and 86 of Holland and Sanu. They did a phenomenal job getting on and off of pit road together, and you see it here with having over a 10-second gap back to the next car, and that's difficult to do with only 2 cars. So definitely a huge shout out to them, and I know that the one guy who's thanking them is the 7 of Langton, because he's able to just tail right here, and he's sitting right here in the free pass position. So Sean Langton not really able to do much at this point, but if a caution does come out, he'll be the benefactor of it.
Currently in the 10th spot as well with that, so they can still hang on to a top 10 finish. David Collins is part of the second group with Pressey. They continue to lose ground. 12 seconds back for Pressey now, continuing to gain. Just can't get the help that he needs to catch up, and there's Collins, who'd be the next car a lap down if they can catch up to the 7. There's another tandem of cars with Thad Miller, Kyle Stewart, Casey Ellison, Greg Pillar. 56 of Benjamin Richards has caught the end of this as well. Currently being scored in the 12th position. A lot going on this racetrack. There was a lot going on in the first 25, 30 laps, but it has quieted down tremendously. We're sitting here with 17 to go. Jeremy, I know that Daytona a little bit more eventful than this race, and sometimes that's just what you need. You need a quiet race. You need this race to go green, get the laps logged, and get done with it. Take it home.
Yeah, especially for a driver like Sanu, who is sitting plus 17 right now in the standings. Now, this is going to be very interesting because Holland already has a win. So it'll be interesting to see if Sanu can get past him here, or if there's any sort of communication about that. And see what he's willing to do to get the win.
I mean, you'll probably see a block from the 31, but I also know that for Richard Holland being locked in with the win, he might just let the 86 go up there. I don't know. It's a tough call. I don't think you make that move until the white flag is out, though. Maybe lag back a little bit on the 31 and see where the 7 of Langton, who he wants to push.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I definitely have some sort of gentleman's agreement here. And, shake hands of, hey, I'm going to help you until going down the backstretch of lap 66. And then after that, it's game on like Donkey Kong. But, for now, at least, they're going to be, working together and just trying to maintain that gap as they've actually added time to that other group. So really impressed by those two. And also Sean Langton, who's helping them. You see a little bit of confusion here as we're trying to get around a slower car. That's the second pack there trying to catch back up, but it just doesn't look to be happening right now.
No, it's Nicholas Pressey who has lost an additional 2 seconds, has David Collins giving him the push down the backstretch for a possible podium finish. Teresa Spiker at the tail end of this group, 2 laps down. Richard Holland, John Sanu way ahead of this. Kyle Stewart has trimmed down about 4 seconds from the last time we checked in with this. Looks like before the end of this thing, they could catch up to Nicholas Pressey. They were about 0.3 faster last time by.
Yeah, and right now, if you are this group, you're just telling yourself, keep on just square pushes, nice and consistent. You have the numbers advantage, so that you have that in your favor. So you just have to keep clicking off laps and making lap time and making sure that your pushes are square. And the last thing that you want is to have a push go wrong, right? A lot of these drivers are battling for points, and battling for that championship. So that one wrong push here could very well be the end of it and put you in a hole that you just can't recover from. So you definitely have to balance the risk versus reward. But for a driver like the 41 of Stewart, you're kind of at the graces of the drivers behind you. So just telling them to keep clicking off lap time.
You're just praying that Thad Miller stays glued to that bumper as long as he can.
Yeah.
Colin Sanu add on another second to their lead within the last 3 laps. It's going to take a caution flag to bring this field back together. I know the 7 of Langton wants it, but if you're John Sanu and Richard Holland, you're hoping this thing goes all the way to the white flag so you can dish it out amongst one car.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is I'm looking down here in the race chats, and they aren't in the same race chat as one another, so it looks like they are actually battling against one another. So that'll be very interesting. It's not like they're teammates where they can have some sort of agreement. Unless they're talking over the actual race chat, they don't have any communication with one another, but it's just mutually known that the goal right here is to get as much of a gap as you can to battle it amongst yourself.
Yeah, anybody that's had super speedway experience knows that the less cars you have to contend with, the better, because these finishes, you can be racing for that top spot coming out of turn 4 and end up finishing outside the top 10. You have a bunch of guys around you, it's more likely that something can go wrong. Or, a tandem of cars on the outside can get such a run out of turn 4 that by the time you get to that start-finish line, you're 7th, 8th position.
Yeah, and I've been in races where, there have been 4 wide finishes where you're at the mercy of the guy behind you, but when you don't have 4 cars in the pack, I guess you can't have a finish like that, but it's definitely still going to be exciting because I want to see where the 7 of Sean Langton goes here and who he decides to help. As the laps keep ticking away, he's just thinking, who am I going to push to the win? And that'll definitely be something interesting here towards the end.
I think it'd be even more interesting if Langton just backed off and let these guys duke it out as a drag race for the final lap. Then we could see an old classic, 1970s raw horsepower race.
Yeah, have the old Donnie Allison fight on the backstretch. Could you imagine a finish like that? You see so many classic finishes come from the super speedways of just chaos happening on the last lap. And even some of the older races where you have the higher horsepower cars, and it's a battle between two guys. I'm not taking anything away from it because I know that these guys are going to put on a heck of a finish.
Under 10 to go when they cross the stripe. Checking back in with Nicholas Pressey still up there in the 3rd spot. Looks like maybe some mistakes were made back here with this grouping of Kyle Stewart. And they're still disorganized. They need to stay single file. Seems like everyone behind Thad Miller not able to decide who wants to be where. You've got Richards, who's not battling for a position with anyone in particular here. You got Casey Ellis in 6, and the contact back there with the 10. A spiker just came down on the 88. Took him all the way to the bottom of the racetrack off the yellow line.
You know,
I'm
I'm no spotter within NASCAR, but I think that there was a car low. Maybe, just maybe.
Watch this here. Could have been problems there for the 88. He's already had enough issues today. Again, just impressive what this front 2 has done, and actually front 3 with Langton just continuing to thunder around here in Lincoln, Alabama. 14 seconds back to Pressey, 25 back to Miller. Miller got around back here at this group. 13's going to try his luck at leading this, but I think it's too little too late, or 10 seconds back from Pressey. It's a lot of ground to make up and not enough time to do it.
Yeah, unless you have one of them star superpowers from Mario Kart, I don't see it happening anytime soon. But, you know, a lot of these guys are still battling for points, so these battles are just as important, if not more. It's going to be very interesting to see how that second pack battles it on the last lap, because just like these guys here in the front, there's all sorts of points battles going on around the track here.
Take a look at those points again while we have an opportunity. As you can see here, Sean Langton with a win, locked in. Richard Holland, Nicholas Pressey, and Justin Ritchie all in the top 4 there. Dakota Floyd at this point in the season has pointed his way in. And then it's John Sanu who's looking for his win. Could come here today at Talladega. 6 laps to go. So the gentleman's agreement. Where does it stand right now? Get the 5 to go signal. You start to consider, where am I going to make that move? Do you just stay dedicated to the 31's back bumper? You're just hoping the caution doesn't come out. If you're Sanu and Holland, it's going to continue to run out here with 5 laps left at this 2.66 mile speedway. The field spread out enough that the opportunities for cautions are pretty low.
Yeah, if I'm Sanu right now, I am 100% taking this opportunity. You know that the other drivers are not going to catch it at this point, so if I'm him, I'm laying off and seeing where I can develop the runs. As you see a big shot to the back there of Holland, just seeing where he could develop the runs. And especially in this corner right here, you might see him lay off just a little bit to see where exactly he starts to get the run. At that point, that's where you know you can develop the pass and get to the quarter panel and side draft that car.
The other opportunity, though, out of 4, do you take the inside or the outside? I know once you get out there by yourself, that run goes away. That momentum just fades out.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be hard. I wouldn't give up the inside, because if you make the move coming out of 4, this isn't like Daytona where you have the start-finish line dead center. It's at Talladega now, so that start-finish is pushed down farther. So if I am Sanu here, I'm not even making the move out of 4. I'm making the move entering the tri-oval. I'm backing off coming out of 4 to get that run. And once I get to the start of pit road, I'm pulling to the right and just dragging him back with that side draft. As you see here, he's pulling him back and now developing that run. And then he's going to pull out. And when he pulls out, get that side draft and hopefully be by him when they cross the start finish.
3 laps left, and the opportunity is running out. John Sanu going to continue to follow. Sean Blanken here, the 55 of Justin Ritchie. Looks like he got all that damage repaired, but unfortunately 4 laps down. Checking in with Cressy as the 70 of Teresa Spiker in front of him. And pushing through the corners, actually. I don't think that's going to really do much. There's Thad Miller and Kyle Stewart. They've lost. This whole pack is pretty much split all apart. And the likelihood now of anyone catching anyone is pretty much nil. Go back to Casey Ellis has Greg Pillar. There's just 2 car tandems. This looks like a COT race.
Yeah, it sure does. Oh, I remember those days. I was actually a very young fan at that time, believe it or not. And I still remember when old Trevor Bain won the Daytona 500.
Thanks for making me feel old. Appreciate that. Always welcome. 2 laps to go. Out of 3 and 4. They'll get the white flag this time by. The race will be official. We do have 2 green-white checkers, though, in our back pocket if we need them. Don't think we're going to. I think we're going to cross the line here. For one final go. John Sanu has been sizing up this run. He's been rehearsing it in his head for the past 20 laps. Let's see what he has. White flag in the air from Talladega. And I think it's too soon for this one.
Yeah, he goes very early, makes the move down the backstretch, but he has the help of the 7 and the 55. The 55, who came from nowhere and tagged onto the tail end of this pack, is pushing Sanu past, and now Holland has to be on the attack.
Ritchie is falling back a little bit. That's not what Holland wants. He wants the 55 to stay down there in the draft, but he's not going to help at all. And John Sanu has set sail, pulls away almost a full second as they come across the line. John Sanu locks himself in to the playoffs.
What a race by both of those drivers. John Sanu made the right move at the right time, had the help to go with him. And right now, if I'm Richard Holland, I am just kicking myself that I didn't block that run going down the back. But tonight, John Sanu is victorious, and he has punched his ticket.
Come around to the front stretch to celebrate. The Luke Transport 86, first victory of the season. He's right there on the edge of being locked in points-wise, but guarantees his way in. There'll be 5 of 8 drivers that are going to make it in that points battle. And Justin Ritchie is going to help him with his celebration.
That's a 4X.
I'd like to thank Justin Ritchie for not getting the memo of coming down pit road to finish this race. Well, it was going to look good there. We'll just go ahead and rewind it here. Play this in slow motion. John Sanu is victorious here today. Post-race interviews with your top 3. Those final results. Quick commercial break while we round up that information here on V-Speed. Watching the Vsrl ARCA Series. More coverage right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking. to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live at Talladega for race number 8. The Vsrl ARCA Series has concluded their 66 laps in regulation. Here from the Talladega Superspeedway, it was John Sanu locking his way into the final 8. Richard Holland getting second after starting in second. Nicholas Pressey on the pole. Lost the lead pack, got a caution. We only had one tonight. Puts Pressey back up into the top 3 with 10 lead changes here tonight. Thad Miller will get a top 5 and finish in 4th position. Kyle Stewart also in the top 5. The 41 comes home 5th. Greg Pillar will finish in the 6th position. Casey Ellis, big moves for these guys. 8 positions gained for both these drivers. Then it was Edward Fiedler, who's going to be the biggest gainer of the race, finishing in the 8th position. John Langton, 1 lap down, gets the top 10 in the 9th spot. David Collins falls out of the lead lap and finishes in the 10th spot.
Finishing 11th, we have Brian Richards.
Benjamin Richards,
sorry. 12th, we have Teresa Spiker. Finishing 13th, we have Garrett Helmlinger. Finishing 14th, we're going to have Justin Ritchie. Finishing 15th, we're going to have Dakota Floyd. Finishing 16th, we have Greg Spiker. And finishing 17th, we're going to have Mr. Hasp. Finishing 18th, we're going to have Brian McKee. Finishing 19th, we're going to have the 43 of Palmer. And finishing 20th, and rounding out your field tonight, finishing 37 laps down, we're going to have the 22 of Gunter.
So with that, we bring you trackside now to get our post-race interviews. First driver we're going to pull up into the booth is Nicholas Pressey, our 3rd place finisher. Nicholas, you got bailed out one time here tonight, but unfortunately, during those green flag pit stops that cycle, you came down with Greg Pillar. Greg Pillar stayed a little bit longer in the box, took too much fuel. You came out on the track by yourself.
Yeah, I was trying to get the when we had that split during the stint after the restart, I was trying to get everyone to say, "Hey guys, like we can make this about us." And I guess they started listening when I was no longer part of us. Um, but all in all, it's I had a lot of help from people like Greg, like the Gregs, uh, David, Teresa. A lot of people helped me at least keep 3rd place. Makes up for missing my pit stall, all that.
When we go back to what happened at the beginning of the race, you were up front, you led some laps, started from the pole. You dropped down to the inside to let the field by, and that transition on the apron, the car got really loose, and you lost the lead pack. How thankful you got one caution here tonight. You got the only one, and it benefited you.
Well, yeah, I got a good bit of help from, once again, people like Renee, and Greg, Greg Spiker, who both helped me out there when I fell to the back. I wanted to come back up earlier, but there just wasn't the room for it with the speed difference. So I had to keep it down until I could get back up, and unfortunately, uh, flipped that transition between the lower and the upper apron, and I thought it was going to cost me pretty dearly until the caution came out.
Well, Nicholas, you finished third here tonight. I know you're locked in to that final 8, but is there anybody that you'd like to shout out for tonight's performance?
Well, apart from everyone who I've already mentioned, I'd like to thank you guys for putting on a great league and protection here over at the Vsrl and Vspeed. I'd like to thank the Drip Diecast and Collectibles store for sponsoring this card this year.
Thank you for your time, Nicholas. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Your third place finisher here tonight at Talladega, Nicholas Pressey in the number 94. With that, we move on to our second place finisher, Richard Holland in the 31. Jeremy Burns has caught up with him on pit road.
All right, this is Jeremy Burns in the V Speed booth. Richard Holland, you got a copy?
I got you, Jeremy. What's happening?
Oh, nothing much. That was a very exciting race there, especially there on the last lap. Can you just kind of talk me through what was going through your mind there on that last lap as you saw Johnson New and his partners set up that run? What was kind of going through your head, and how were you trying to develop something to block that there on the last lap?
I knew there was no way I was going to block, the three of them, and I knew it was coming. I was just hoping that John was going to wait until, the last lap to do it, just so we didn't lose any more time to like third place or whatever. But I knew it was coming, and I was fine with it. I mean, John really worked with me all night, and he pushed me, and I wouldn't have even been up there if it wasn't for his help. So, John ran a great race, and like I said, he was a ton of help to me tonight. So, he deserved to win this race. He put himself in the right spot and did what he had to do at the end there, and I'm fine with it. So, I knew it was coming, and there was no way I was going to try to block us and wreck us and all that stuff. So, just kind of nothing I could do there.
Yeah, and you guys got out to a very sizable lead there during that green flag run. Can you kind of talk me through what was going through your mind when you had those green flag pit cycles, and how y'all were able to be so efficient on pit road and getting off and getting to that sizable lead?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we just got on pit road a lot better than everybody else and cleaner, or what happened. John and I were just talking about that. I mean, we got on pit road really good. And I didn't take any tires that whole race, so I had 66 laps on my tires. But I'm not sure. I think we just got in there in pit road really well and had a clean stop and got off pit road good. I don't know what else there was to it. I'm not sure.
Well, it is a fantastic race for you, Richard. Do you have anybody that you'd like to thank while you have the opportunity while you're up here in the booth?
Yeah, I just want to thank Garrett for putting on this thing and inviting us over here to race here with this group of guys, group of people here, and all these people are really, really good to race with and courteous, and it's been a lot of fun. Been a good season so far, and we're ready to start the chase here and get things going and go after a championship here for sure.
Well, once again, phenomenal race from you tonight. Coming home second, that would be Richard Holland in the 31.
You don't care what kind of company you keep, do you, Jeremy?
He's talking about me. Yeah, up here in the booth. Yeah, he'll just hang out with anyone, I guess.
Yeah, he doesn't care who he hangs out with, obviously.
Yeah, we'll see you next week at Michigan, man. It was good to see you up front.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Thank you, guys.
Richard Holland, second place finisher here tonight at Talladega. Yeah, I've raced with Richard for 13 years, so we know each other pretty well. And another guy that I know pretty well is in victory lane. That's your race winner, John Sanu. He comes out, makes his move on the final lap, has help from Sean Langton, and sets sail. Congratulations, John. I know that this locks you into the final 8, But outside of that, I mean, you were having a pretty good season already. This just icing on the cake.
Yeah, I was very happy with this win. I don't have a win in this series yet, and I actually am just happy to even be in contention to be in for the playoffs because I missed the second race of the season, and I've been lucky to put together some stuff. And then, luckily I got some help from Sean. Richard and I worked really good throughout the whole race. I like working with Richard on these tracks. We work well together, pushing whether I'm pushing or he's pushing. So I definitely wanted to work with him, and got that opportunity. We worked well together, and then we were able to pick up Sean. And then Justin sort of had the group at the end. So yeah, once that happened, and I saw we had put a pretty good gap on Pressy by like 14 seconds, I think. I knew. I was like, okay, I should have this no problem. Sean was going to stick with me, and I'm sure Richard saw that too. And was like, and we had talked. He's like, it's just a matter of when. So, but I wanted to stay with him and make sure he locked that second place finish as well. That's why we waited to the very end, where we could have done it earlier. So he's a good racer. Like I said, we work well together. So I wanted to make sure he had a good finish as well.
Well, John, you have one caution here tonight, and then we still have our green flag pit stops. We talked about the strategy, and we asked Richard what he thought, coming into that pit stop, how you guys got so far out ahead. What's your opinion on that situation?
Yeah, we were talking about that because I believe there was like at least 5 or 6 of us that came in at the same time, and we both cooked it in pretty good because I was locking him up and trying to manage the slide a little bit, and I could hear out of my audio that he was really. I think we just came in a little hotter than the other two, or than the other rest of the group, so we were able to turn around that pit stop pretty quickly, and get right back out on pit road. And he actually even slowed down a little bit because I screwed up and took tires. I forgot to check him off, so I caught him on pit road exit. And luckily, we were still had a good enough gap that we were able to capitalize that and work together and pull it out. So yeah, just that was lucky because it's as soon as I saw I was taking tires, as well, on these tracks, I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. I've lost the pack. This is over. So I was very happy to come out of pit road and see I was going to be able to pick up Richard before we got back out onto the track. So yeah, very lucky there. And like I said, it's I think we just came in really hot with the group of us. The two of us got in really hot and we're able to get in our pit box clean and out quickly. But again, I also thought that's what screwed us up when we came out. I'm like, uh-oh, where's everybody else? 2 cars is not going to do it. So luckily, Sean, we were able to pick up Sean, like I said, and it worked out for us. So very happy with the result. Good race, 1 caution. That's not bad. So yeah, good fun race. Had a good car. Car felt good all night. So very happy with the finish.
Well, John, finally, that brings us to who puts this 86 team out on the racetrack every week. Anybody you want to thank?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to thank my sponsors that have been with me since the beginning. Luke Transport, Luke Oil. I forget who I have also on the side. I think our pizza company, Another Round Pizza. They help put the car in the trailer and the beer in the cooler. And then of course, the guys in the room that I run with. It's always fun to run with them. Kyle, Justin, Dakota, Sean. Thad was in here tonight running as well. So always fun to run with them. So I want to thank them. Definitely Garrett. Also, he was in the room and he puts on this. He puts in all the work to make this league run. So big thanks to him for putting this all together. And of course, you guys up at the booth, you guys do an amazing job. I know Morgan was a little bit under the weather with his voice, so it was cool to have you come in. You're an excellent broadcaster. I really enjoy watching you broadcast. So I look forward to watching it tomorrow.
Appreciate all the compliments. John Sanu, victorious here tonight at Talladega. We'll see you in 1 week's time when we go to Michigan.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So that concludes our coverage here tonight at Talladega. If you enjoyed tonight's broadcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You'll never miss a single race. We have plenty of action through the week. Tomorrow night, make sure to tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern Time when the QSR Truck Series will be going live, and also SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series. That will be at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. I'd like to thank Jeremy Burns for being up here in the booth. Any final thoughts before we let him go?
Well, once again, it was another very entertaining race here at Talladega. We had high speed, we had high action, and we had a little bit of carnage mixed in there too. Huge thank you, Bradley, for letting me come up here and be a co-commentator with you. And I had a lot of fun tonight, and look to have other opportunities here in the future.
Brandon Baker, Morgan Cook, and our other producers, Eddie Smith, Christian Hill, Logan Threlkeld. This is Bradley Cooper on behalf of Jeremy Burns, telling you so long from Talladega. We'll see you next time here on V-Speed.